And also think about this one. And I've seen so many classes teachers snapping their fingers at the students, and they do this either because they want to attract students' attention, or sometimes because they want to give the floor to a student, or to tell a student that this is your turn to answer. And again, this is really bad, like doing this for your student. No, don't do this, please, because again, it makes you sound very arrogant, and adult students would not like it at all in a classroom. And some people might say, but wait a minute, Shadi, it's a bit acceptable in our culture. I would say, even if it were acceptable in your culture, also try to avoid it, because you're not going to teach in this culture forever. You might want to travel abroad and teach internationally. So you need to get yourself into the habit of using gestures that are generally acceptable, okay, in different countries. And again, if you keep snapping at your students, it becomes part of your teaching, and then if you travel to a different country, it will be very hard to get rid of it. So my advice, if you do this, please stop doing it immediately. And if you are on professional courses, I'm sure that your tutors will give you a lot of negative comments on this one. They will be really unhappy with it. So moving from there, and oh my God, this is George Bush Senior, and well, the guy was was visiting Australia, and he wanted actually to give them the victory sign, but he ended up giving them this sign, which is the V sign. Now some people might say, what's wrong with the V sign? Because actually this is okay in the United States, but in so many countries like Britain, Australia, New Zealand, and some other countries, this is a very horrible sign. This is very bad. It's very offensive. It's like giving someone a middle finger. So please be careful as a teacher, because I saw so many teachers, when they talk about things in the classroom, they say, okay, today we're going to cover 2 points, and then they go and give the V sign to people. Now, and I saw a lot of candidates also working with British tutors, and they were just telling them, okay, I've got 2 questions, and then British tutors, they go like, hey, wait a minute, what is this? So you need to be careful what signs you use in the classroom, and also think about the cultural background of your students all the time. You need to bear this in mind. And my advice would be, before you travel somewhere, search the internet and try to find the gestures that you need to avoid in this country, especially hand gestures and stuff like that. Read a bit about this before you get into the classroom, because this is part of your job as a teacher. You cannot get in the classroom and start, using the wrong hand gestures. You don't want to get in trouble, because this is really bad. And again, a lot of people make these mistakes. I mean, this is the President of the United States one day, and he did this to Australia, to a group of demonstrators actually. So it wasn't a very nice incident, eh? Right. And from there, I mean, look at this hand gesture, and who would say that this might be bad? Thumbs up. I mean, everybody likes it, because when people go like this, I mean, this is really positive, and you feel that you did something great. However, in some countries, this is a very bad sign. So again, as I said before, you need to read about the culture you will teach in, okay? Understand a lot of things about this culture, especially hand gestures, as long as you're going to be using a lot of gestures in a classroom. It is your job. Now, another question here about gestures: are facial gestures important? And I would say, yes, of course. As I said at the very beginning of the video, you would use also your facial gestures to teach vocabulary sometimes, and also to talk about a student's errors. So all the time, make sure that your facial gestures are very positive, okay? And don't forget the smile. So you need to look, you need to use facial gestures that are nice, okay, and positive. Because again, if you put on, boredom facial gestures, oh my God, how would your students feel in the classroom? If you have angry facial gestures, now again, your rapport with your students will be destroyed. So be careful. Facial gestures, very important. And we keep saying that to a lot of candidates on different courses. And hey, you need to be careful. You need to smile a bit, because if you don't smile, you're creating a kind of an intense atmosphere in the classroom. And if your students are nervous, then learning wouldn't happen the way you want, or would be very slow. Right. Now, someone might ask this question: can wrong gestures actually affect my grades on teacher training professional courses? And people might say, like CELTA, CERT, TESOL, TEFL courses, and I would say big yes, of course. If you use the wrong gestures, and if you can't use effective gestures in the classroom, this would affect your grading. For example, let's think about the CELTA course as an example, and I'm sure that all other courses as well, gestures are very important. Like if we look at the CELTA syllabus handbook, we will find 2 criteria where gestures, okay, can come under their umbrella. So criteria 1B, teaching a class with an awareness of learning preferences and cultural factors, and underlying cultural factors here. So you need to understand about the culture of your students. And this means that be careful and read about the gestures that would be appropriate for the culture you're teaching in. Also another criteria, which is 1D, establishing good rapport. So if your facial gestures are negative, and if your facial gestures gives a kind of a negative feedback on students' errors, and rapport is going down. Forget about error correction. If you don't smile enough, that wouldn't be very nice. So again, let's sum up all this. So we would say that gestures are very, very, very important. And you need to know how to use effective gestures in the classroom. And you need to expect that your tutors will be talking about your facial gestures in the feedback sheets if they feel that there was something wrong with this. And this, of course, will affect your grading if you are on a teacher training course. Now, thank you so much. That was the first episode on classroom management. And we still have also other areas to cover, and I will try to cover these areas one by one in the coming videos. So if you want to contact me or reach me, then you've got my blog, which is www.shadi.blog, or you can write an email to me at shadi.blog, and also you've got my Facebook. Okay, thank you so much for watching, and see you again. Bye bye.